Well, 2015 wasn't a bad year for several football teams across the continent, with Nigeria winning the Under-17 World Cup trophy for the 5th time. They also bagged the Under-23 Africa Cup of Nations. This week, we look at the 2015 Africa team performance. Hello and a very warm welcome to this special edition of Match Point, the show that brings you all things African sport from the continent and beyond. I'm Mahe Mutua. This is the second part of our year-end in review. Here's what else we have for you this half hour. After a shaky 2015, South Africa's Springboks hope things will be better this year. And we bring you the key sporting highlights from the international scene. Well, indeed, Africa has had mixed fortunes in the world of football this past year, from the triumph of the Nigerian Under-17 team at the World Cup to the elevation of African football chief Issa Hayatou to the top seat of the World Football Governing Body. The continent toasted to good progress, but also had its fair share of low moments. CCTV's Sadiq Shaban looks back.
Africa had mixed fortunes in 2015 as it celebrated significant milestones in the world of football, but also had moments it would wish to put behind it very first. It was a good year for the youth of Africa when Mali and Senegal finished 3rd and 4th respectively at the FIFA Under-20 Championship in New Zealand. It was an all-African affair at the FIFA Under-17 World Cup in play when Nigeria beat fellow African side Mali by 2-0 to be crowned the champions again. The Nigerian Under-23 team would repeat their achievement at the Africa Under-23 Cup of Nations in Senegal and qualified for the Olympic Games.
It was very difficult. It was very difficult. We had a lot of injuries, but we need to play players off positions and all that. But the bottom line is we were lucky.
The Côte d'Ivoire team notched yet another continental success, winning the 2015 Africa Cup of Nations after defeating Ghana by 9-8 in post-match penalties. The fragile nation was united in celebrations that lasted 4 days. But there were trying moments too for African football in 2015. Allegations of the 2010 World Cup hosting rights were both threatened to silence the jubilation of the event, and vuvuzelas went silent at the altar of corruption at the World Football Governing Body, FIFA. Sepp Blatter was forced to step down as president of FIFA amidst corruption allegations and investigation by the United States and Swiss authorities, and suspended for 8 years by FIFA's own ethics committee. The turbulence in Zurich was a blessing in disguise for the African football president Issa Hayatou, who took over as the acting president of FIFA, the first such position for an African. But the honeymoon was short-lived, and just like Sepp Blatter, Issa Hayatou was immediately forced to defend himself against corruption allegations.
To my knowledge, I have never been involved in any kind of scandal, and if you do have proof that I have been involved in anything, tell me. I am ready to receive them and even to change my behavior. But to date, FIFA is not corrupted. There have been individuals within FIFA who have had a negative behavior, so you must not generalize the situation. There have indeed been people who have remained for 30 years, 25 years, and even 10 years, but who have not been touched by the scandal we are going through right now. This is all I can tell you.
With Sepp Blatter not running again for the top seat, the forthcoming FIFA elections attracted 2 African contenders, Tokyo Sekwale from South Africa and Musa Bility, the president of the Liberian Football Association. It remains to be seen if they will succeed in their quest to transform FIFA and restore its tainted image. But the politics of the sport aside, 2015 has been a stellar year for Gabon international Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. The playmaker ended the first half of the German Bundesliga as the top scorer with 18 league goals and 27 goals in 26 appearances in all competition for his Borussia Dortmund club. He could well be the African Player of the Year for 2015 when the awards are announced in January. Sadiq Shaban, CCTV, Nairobi.
Right now, for more on the year that was in African football, especially from a Nigerian perspective, We're now joined live by sports analyst Kayode Tijani, who joins us live now from Lagos, Nigeria. Kayode, talk us through Nigeria's success this year. Obviously, wins at the Under-23 Championships continentally, wins at Under-17 level at the World Cup. Surely this must be the promise of a new crop of Super Eagles.
Well, we are really open to. I mean, lovely year. 1996 was the best ever for Nigeria. We call them the dream team. We are even saying, can you call this a dream team? Lots of prospects, but you have to let these guys graduate to the Super Eagles. Don't talk about their age. Don't think they're under 17. Don't think they're because under 23. If they are good enough, let them go in. That's what a lot of people are really saying here.
Now, Kayode, obviously the Under-23 team made headlines because now they are, of course, going to be at next year's Olympic Games. What does their form, especially at the Under-23 Africa Cup of Nations, mean as they go into the Rio Olympic Games next year?
Well, I mean, a bit suspect in the early stages. They almost didn't qualify for even the semi-final. But the last two games, exemplary. So you want something like that. But you can't keep changing this team. I mean, by bringing in pros who might not be able to leave their clubs because it's not a fever calendar, you might just kill the spirits that they have now, the synergy, the consistency. So it depends on how the coach is going to go about this.
Now, Kayode, obviously the women's team didn't enjoy as much success. Obviously, at the Women's World Cup this year, they failed to progress from the group stage. Why exactly was that?
Well, because the Nigerian Football Federation, the Nigerian government still need to do more when it comes to the female football. The league is not strong. It's not a culture here. You don't put in so much money on them. You don't really trust them that much. Though the Under-20 World Cup with women, getting to the final against Germany was exemplary. But it tells you the level that Africa is when compared to the likes of Germany, Korea, France, and the like. So it tells you what you need to do. Summary. Nigeria needs to take them more seriously. There needs to be a strong women league like for the men. That's what the problem is. That's what the challenge is.
And finally, Kayode, what happened continentally to the other big names, specifically Egypt's Pharaohs?
Well, I mean, in the continent, it's quite difficult. The Nigerian league is growing strong. The league management committee, Shehu Diko and the others, they are really doing an exemplary job. But the Nigerian league has fallen on standard in the last 10, 15, 20 years. So it's going to take some time. They're really trying their best. It's going to take some time. That's why you see some Nigerian clubs in the continent, they can hardly go far. There's not enough money. Even in Nigeria, the LMC is struggling to get these clubs to pay salaries. It tells you exactly what you need to know because 90% of them are owned by the government, which was not so in all those years. Levent United, Abiola, Babes, 90% then privately owned. There's no money in the economy right now. They are struggling. It depends. Give it some 2-3 years before it gets to that standard again.
All right, Kayode, I'll ask you to remain on the line. We'll come back to you in just a moment while we talk about the ugly side of football. Of course, 2015 was also a year to forget for football's governing body. FIFA became the center of a corruption scandal that led to 27 officials being indicted, including 8 former FIFA Executive Committee members. The year also saw FIFA President Sepp Blatter and Vice President Michel Platini banned from football for 8 years over an alleged disloyal payment. CCTV's Dan Williams has that story.
A game in crisis. Football's governing body was engulfed by a corruption scandal in 2015. And the year ended with the 2 most powerful men in world football, Sepp Blatter and Michel Platini, banned from the game for 8 years. It meant Blatter would end his 40-year career at FIFA, 17 as president, in disgrace. As the world's football associations gathered in Zurich in May ahead of the FIFA Congress, few knew then the drama that was about to unfold. In the early hours of May 27th, police raided this hotel, arresting 6 FIFA executives as part of a US investigation into alleged corruption. The turmoil did not stop Blatter from being re-elected as president just 2 days later.
I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect. But we will do a good job together, I'm sure. So I thank you so much. I thank you for the trust and confidence. Trust and confidence. Together we go. Let's go, FIFA. Let's go, FIFA. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
That confidence was misplaced, and just 4 days later, Blatter announced he would stand down.
Bien que les membres de la FIFA.
Although the members of FIFA have given me a new mandate and have re-elected me as president, this mandate does not seem to be supported by everybody in the world of soccer, by supporters, clubs, players and those who inspire soccer. This is why I will call an extraordinary Congress to put at disposal my function.
Autant que nous tous à la FIFA.
But the controversy continued as a comedian showered Blatter with money ahead of a news conference in July. On the pitch, football continued as normal, but off it, the game lurched deeper into crisis. And in September, events took a further dramatic twist as Swiss authorities opened criminal proceedings against Sepp Blatter over an alleged disloyal payment to Michel Platini in 2011. The pair denied any wrongdoing, but FIFA suspended both of them for 90 days. It was a devastating blow to Platini's FIFA presidency bid, but worse was to come. And in December, both Blatter and Platini were handed 8-year bans by the FIFA Ethics Committee.
I am now suspended 8 years. Suspended 8 years. But I will fight. I will fight for me and I will fight for FIFA. Suspended 8 years for what?
Football's governing body has much to do in 2016 to restore its integrity. The new FIFA president faces a sizable task. The crisis appears to be far from over. Dan Williams, CCTV, Madrid.
Well, sports analyst Kayode Tijani is still here with us from Lagos, Nigeria. Kayode, very quickly, I'll just ask you finally about the Club World Cup. TP Mazembe is showing there, and every other African clubs. Why is it that they seem to struggle at the World Cup championships?
Well, it's very simple. The gulf in class between Africa and the rest of the world, when we to look at Europe and all, is still absolutely wide. The quality of players, the amount of financing, the lush green grass, as opposed to artificial pitches in Africa, it's too wide for now. I mean, TP Mazembe is the one you keep hearing. They are trying their best, but it's still going to be years from now. The golf in class, like I said earlier, too wide. You know.
All right, Kayode, thank you very much for speaking to us on Match Point this evening. That was sports analyst Kayode Tijani speaking to us about all things African football, the success of Nigerian football teams over the past 12 months. He was joining us from Lagos, Nigeria. Well, the journey to Rio 2016 has seen some dramatic turns of events as teams outdid each other so as to book their tickets to the Summer Olympic Games in Brazil. The African continent saw some familiar faces qualify for the under-23 football competition as Nigeria, Algeria and South Africa went through after finishing first, second and third respectively at the Under-23 Africa Cup of Nations. The other male teams to have qualified are of course the Kenya and South Africa Rugby Sevens teams. The women's team saw Kenya qualify for the Sevens after South Africa's Olympic Committee withdrew their squad. The shocker, of course, was for the qualifiers was Zimbabwe. Farai Mwakutuya has more.
2015 has been a roller coaster ride for local football fans who at one point were despondent after disqualification from the 2018 World Cup qualifiers, and the next were toasting the women's national team's historic feat of making it to the Olympics. The disqualification, punishment for not paying a former national coach, was the climax of administrative woes that led to the unceremonious departure of former ZIFA president Cuthbert Dube 2 years before his term was up. A new president was elected on December 5th.
I'd like to work with everybody, including the ones I was competing with who have lost.
Those magnanimous sentiments have already been put to the side. The flamboyant entrepreneur come politician has fired the national team coach and plans a shake-up of the Premier Soccer League leadership. Philip Chiangwa has little football experience, but says he will use his business acumen to help steer ZIFA out of an estimated $6 million debt. He also has the tough task of restoring confidence in a game that has lost the trust of well-wishers. ZIFA tried to reach out to ordinary fans through a $1 for Football initiative, but that hasn't had many backers.
It's hard for us to help. Where is the other money at ZIFA going? We don't know what's happening, so I won't give them anything.
Despite the problems, Zimbabwe's national teams have delivered where it matters most.
If you look at 2015, I think it has been a great year for Zimbabwean football. On the football field, you know, we qualified for CHAN, yes. We also qualified for the Under-23 All-Africa Games. We were there, and look at us now, we are sitting on top of our group in the AFCON qualifiers.
The greatest story of the year belongs to the mighty Warriors, who salvaged their Olympic qualification from the brink. After failing to travel to the Ivory Coast for a fixture, they spectacularly earned a historic berth at the Rio Games. The improbable heroines are still pinching themselves.
Even as players, we are not actually believing that we have qualified.
It's a dream they hope doesn't end. But in a few months, they'll come up against the world's best at the Games.
Whether they win or lose, the mighty Warriors are guaranteed of retaining their place in the revered record books of Zimbabwean football. Farai Mwakutuya, CCTV, Harare, Zimbabwe.
You're watching Match Point. Time for us to take a short break. Here's what's coming up. After a shaky 2015, South Africa's Springboks hope things will be better in 2016.
Usain Bolt's in town. We've got a rugby version. I'm not sure what sort of a dance that is.
Kiranesh Dibaba of Ethiopia wins 10,000 metres gold.
Lewis, well done. You're an absolute legend.
Turning to European club football, Barcelona crowned an already fantastic season by winning the top honours in European football as they beat Juventus 3-1 in the final of the UEFA Champions League in Munich this June. Lionel Messi started a move with a long ball that led to Ivan Rakitic scoring the opener in the first half. Juve responded minutes after the interval after a cross found Carlos Tevez, who fired goalwards, but Barca keeper Ter Stegen blocked the shot, only for it to fall into the path of Alvaro Morata, who equalized for Juve. Juventus's momentum was put to a halt when Lionel Messi worked some space to shoot for goal, but Gianluigi Buffon blocked the shot only as far as Luis Suarez, who made it 2-1. Pedro unselfishly played in Neymar, who scored the third goal for Barcelona late into additional time to kickstart celebrations for the Catalans. Well, the Rugby World Cup in England saw New Zealand crowned world champions for a historic third time. The All Blacks beat South Africa en route to the final before seeing off Australia in the final, while the Springboks settled for bronze after beating Argentina in the third-place playoff. The Boks campaign was met with mixed reactions in their home country despite finishing third overall, as CS du Plessis now reports.
South Africa's participation at the 2015 Rugby World Cup won't be remembered for the bronze medal or the semi-final defeat to the eventual winners New Zealand. It will be because of the historic and unexpected defeat to Minnows Japan, something that shocked the rugby world and boosted the interest in the tournament from around the globe. It sent shockwaves through South Africa, and the nation contemplated an early exit for the Springboks.
I could just pick up words, but it was symbolic. First up, it's embarrassing. It's something that no one really saw it coming in the world, and I think that's the biggest shock in the rugby history.
The former two-time world champions managed to claim the bronze medal, something veteran flank Skalk Burger was extremely proud of.
Getting a bronze medal from when we started the competition, I think that's one heck of an achievement. I think any lesser group would have fallen apart.
The return of the Springboks saw speculation rife that coach Heineke Meyer would be offered a new deal until 2019. But the Bok coach was under pressure to answer for his team not bringing back the Webb Ellis Trophy. A visibly drained Meyer just shifted the focus to his team and their gutsy displays.
We gave everything out there. It was 2 points into the end, and the guys really put their bodies on line and really played for the country, and at the end the best team won. So we don't have any excuses, no regrets. We couldn't go harder. We did everything we could. And it's just great to see the reaction of the people when we came back.
Weeks later, Meyer would announce that he would not be considered for another 4 years as coach, and without anything to show for his team's efforts at the World Cup, his tenure would come to an end.
It's what's in the trophy cabinet that matters the most. I think any coach that's ambitious, any country that's ambitious, and want to be successful, measure their success by the number of trophies they've won. And unfortunately, under his tenure, we weren't able to win anything.
There's no shame in a Rugby World Cup semi-final exit, nor is there any shame in winning the bronze medal. But for the South African rugby public, not winning the World Cup is seen as a failure. The next Springbok coach that comes in to replace Heineke Meyer will have the unenviable task of meeting those expectations when the next World Cup rolls around. But for now, the South African Rugby Union will sit back, enjoy the festive season, and then only appoint the next Bok coach in about February 2016. CS du Plessis, CCTV, Johannesburg.
Well, last week I got to spend time with former Kenyan athlete Martin Keino to speak about the year Kenya had on the track, as well as the intrigue surrounding the IAAF over the past 12 months. We continue our conversation to touch on the year that was for 3 of Africa's athletes and the year they had. This past year, we've seen the emergence of not probably just prevalence of Genzebe Dibaba. She's come into her own, middle and long distance. She's athlete of the year. What do you make of the year that she has had?
Well, she's had a tremendous year. Obviously, breaking the world record, winning gold medal in the World Championships, and just running blazing times throughout the year. It's been phenomenal. I think what stands out for me for Genzebe is her breaking the world record in Monaco. The world record was obviously was set so high. It was such a high standard by the Chinese lady that for her to come through and break it was just amazing. So she's definitely the future of the sport, and I see her being in it for a long time. Oh, she obviously has family heritage that her sisters have excelled before. Right. So it's really exciting to see a young star coming through like that and doing extremely well.
We also said goodbye to a very big name, Haile Gebrselassie, hung up his spikes and said goodbye to the sport. What do you make of that? Of us losing one of the biggest names in athletics?
I think Haile was is one of the superstars of the sport, and he's had a tremendous career, very long career. I mean, in the mid-90s I ran with Haile and I helped set out some world records for him, so he goes that far back. But he's just, he's really a standout for the sport, a very well-liked person, and the sport will miss this star tremendously. I mean, he's achieved so much, that and run for so long that it's hard to imagine that he's actually leaving the sport. But it's good, that that his exit opens up many doors, and he serves as an inspiration for not only Ethiopian athletes but for athletes around Africa. That if you're determined, you're disciplined, you work hard, you have a long, successful career. So he stands out as one of the sport's top role models, and I think the sport will miss him very much.
Indeed. What about South Africa? We saw Van Niekerk winning 400 meters in Beijing, gold. What are your thoughts on that? Maybe now talking about a different country altogether.
Yes, I mean, Africa is on the rise this year. Particularly now you see they're diversifying the events that we're excelling. We normally are known for our dominance in the middle to long distance to the marathons, but here we are coming through with champions in the 400 meters up to the javelin. So that says a lot about what's happening in Africa, and particularly the sprints, because you'd expect that the Americans, the Caribbean athletes are the ones who dominate it. So for Van Niekerk coming through to win, to beat the Americans and the Caribbeans is special. It's amazing. It just goes to show you that African athletes are talented, and with the right training and attitude and determination, we could dominate the world. And I think this is just a sign of things to come. There's so much potential and ability for athletes, and Van Niekerk just goes to show that.
Let's take another short break here on Match Point, still to come. Stay tuned for sporting highlights from the international transfer scene.
It has been 3 years since our first bulletin, and from that standing start we've taken you across Africa and beyond. We've provided a voice for all Africans.
My dream for Africa is a good education for all.
A platform for its people.
Come to Africa, make money, and help us develop our countries.
Trying to approach. No one else takes you closer to the stories the world is talking about, or provides the images that will stay with you forever. This is an achievement that has won recognition from global leaders.
中央电视台非洲分台，他们奉行的理念是用非洲人的角度来看非洲，用非洲人的理念来解释非洲。
And all of this has just happened in 3 years. The best part is, we're just getting started. This is CCTV Africa, your African news channel.
As always, in 2015, football transfers dominated much of the sporting headlines, with players making moves to the tune of £870 million in the summer window. And that's just in England. Here now is a quick overview of the big transfers that took place this past year. Well, that does it for this edition of Matchpoint. Remember, you can send your feedback to us, matchpoint@cctv.com. That's our email address. You can also visit our Facebook page, CCTV Africa, or our Twitter handle @CCTV News Africa. Thanks for watching. I'm Mahia Mutua. Do have yourselves a wonderful 2016.